Welcome to the Coached Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Keren Eldad. Settle in. We're about to make you feel really good. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Coached Podcast and the Coaching Masters season. This season is called Coaching Masters because it is a journey into integrity and excellence in teaching. We're exploring what makes a teacher a true teacher, not just what they offer to the world, but how they came to offer it. It's who they became along the way. Today, I'm honored to welcome a woman who has walked that path and who now walks others home to themselves. My good friend, Jessica Zweig. Jessica is the founder of The Spiritual Hustler, host of the podcast by the same name, a best-selling author. Her latest book, The Light Work, one of my favorites in my library, and a powerful voice for embodied personhood and leadership. She is a woman on fire in every sense of the word. And as with all true teachers, it didn't really begin with fire and light. It began with a fall. After building and selling a successful marketing agency, Jessica hit a breaking point: burnout, financial loss, and a painful fallout with her co-founder. She has spoken openly about the unraveling that followed, and then about going to Egypt, something opening there, and reclaiming herself. A new chapter began, and what has emerged is not just a new business. It is now a transmission. Today we'll talk about that chapter, about light, about the truth, about what happens when you finally open up and merge authenticity with your brand, and building from that energy instead of the energy that ego ultimately leads you to destruction. We will talk, I think, above all else, about the importance of this to success, particularly as a teacher. And this allows me to introduce her with my favorite quote of all time. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." My friend Jessica embodies this privilege. It is an honor to welcome you.
It's an honor to be here. You're going to make me cry before we even start.
Thank you for coming to Austin.
Thank you for having me.
Isn't that the truth?
It's so perfectly stated.
So like many teachers, I've opened up by saying that you came to this work through struggle and through a temple destroyed. Let's go back to the end of your last business. But also, if you can, give us some background into how that was formed, because I believe it will inform the trajectory and then the full circle.
So my last business was my second business. My first business I started when I was 27, coming out of a chapter of being an actress, which really meant I was a bartender and a nanny and a temp job worker and a front desk manager of a gym, like trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I stumbled into entrepreneurship at 27. And I came up with this really beautiful idea. This was pre-Instagram, pre the fashion food blogger world. This was in 2008, so I'm dating myself here. And I decided to start an online platform for women in the city of Chicago. And it was really just an idea that exploded into an actual brand.
Yeah.
And I got my real life MBA running that company.
Yeah.
And I had a business partner in that company that was a friend for about a month. And then we decided to go into business together, which is never a good idea.
It's so interesting.
Do not recommend.
So first, you're out of necessity becoming an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And secondly, you very quickly, without vetting, become a co-founder of someone.
Correct. And I blessed that relationship. We were together for 7 years. We made it through a very tumultuous, toxic roller coaster of a ride. And I give us a lot of credit. You know, we had a vision, we had an idea, we went for it, we built an audience, we built a business, but it wasn't grounded in true respect for one another. It wasn't grounded in our own personal growth. We hadn't done it yet.
Yeah.
We certainly didn't know how to lead a team. We didn't know how to manage a P&L. We didn't know how to communicate. And at the end of that 7-year journey, it unraveled. You know, it was a financial disaster. I was 33 years old. I had learned a lot on the, real life MBA, hard knocks first go of being an entrepreneur, and I'm grateful for that. But at the end of the day, that business failed.
Yeah.
And it left me not only sick with an autoimmune disorder, reeling in a toxic relationship divorce with my business partner, but also financially destitute. I had, over $100,000 in credit card debt. Wow. I had to ask my parents to bail me out at 33 years old with negative bank balances on both my checking and business accounts. I was in so much shame, so much self-loathing, so much true scarcity. And I got the insane idea to try and do it again, to try and launch another business.
Yeah.
I did take a corporate job for about 2 years to pay off the debt and lick my wounds. And my husband was going through his own financial dissolution, so we were in a tough spot. So my job was paying our benefits, our rent. I had all of the security. I became the breadwinner for the first time in my relationship history, which was its own story. And my husband and I made it through that dark night of the soul for our relationship. But I quit that corporate job because I cannot work for the man. Will never, I'm glad I went to corporate and was like, not for me. Thank you for the lessons. And I came back out and decided to start my second business.
Yes. But I love that you did what you needed to do.
Yeah.
Because this is going to be a very familiar story to a lot of people who are listening, to a lot of teachers who are listening. Many of us had a first venture in entrepreneurship. It didn't work out. And then we started to understand that there's a non-negotiable here. But then to get to that non-negotiable, we do have to do what we need to do.
Yes, we have to do what we need to do. And I'm grateful for all the things that I learned in that world, because I've, started now 3 businesses: entrepreneurship, creativity, being an actor. Like, that was all I knew. So getting those chops and understanding the vernacular in that world, like, really has served me so much in my career. But I couldn't stand to work for the patriarchy for one more day. And so I quit.
I feel that.
And I have this little tattoo on my wrist called Simply Be.
Like
And
the first book.
Yes, it was the inspiration for my book. It was the inspiration for my agency. I named my second company the Simply Be Agency. And, this was also at a really interesting inflection point in the space of social media. This was around 2016, 17, right? And I had been on social since the beginning, like I said, 2008. And it seemed like that was the time that everyone and their mom looked up and said to themselves, I think I should be on social media now. And I had already done it, learned it, gotten to really become quite good at it. And I didn't want to just work with brands. I wanted to work with people. Because I had, at that time, through my breakdown at 33, the brokenness, the sickness, the toxicity, started getting into spirituality and personal growth. And I was more interested in humanity than I was in companies.
And did you find the interest in spirituality through the breakdown or through the interest?
To be honest, Keren, I've always been a little mystical since I was little. I was born and raised Jewish, but I remember writing poetry at like 8, 9 years old about like white light and angels and the goddess.
Wow.
And then when I was 19 years old, and I write about this in my book, The Light Work, I went to Ireland on a backpacking trip, and I stepped into a church for the first time in my life. I'd only gone to synagogue because I grew up in a very Jewish community. And I had a visitation in that church at 19 from my deceased grandmother, who had just died a few months before. And I was completely discombobulating because I felt like a trespasser going into that church. I'll never forget it. It changed my life. And my grandmother came to me in a pew, sitting in this little tiny chapel in Kilkenny, Ireland. And I was like, how am I having the most profound spiritual experience of my life in a church? And then it dawned on me that it's all God. It's all love. This is a house of God for all. And I set myself on this real path to define my relationship to spirit on my terms, not necessarily my rabbis or my parents' beliefs. And so by the time I hit 33, I was open, I was on the path, but I really knew, because what happened in that breakdown at the end of that business, and this is where we can get into authenticity. I think it's important to note that I was never cool in high school. Like, I was very, very nerdy, bullied a lot, didn't have a big group of girlfriends. Boys never liked me. I was gawky. And then in my late 20s, when I started this magazine, even though it was a financial disaster, it was critically successful. People thought we were killing it. And I was like,
and you were cool.
And I was about to just say that. I was a cool girl all of a sudden. And so I really had to reconcile.
How interesting.
It was crazy.
It's total correction.
It was. It was like, I was never invited to the parties. And then I was the girl in my late 20s that was hosting the parties. And everyone wanted to come to my parties. And that, talk about ego, unconscious ego, really taking the wheel. And I really had to look at my life and say to myself at the end of that chapter, like, everything is broken. Who the world thinks I am from the outside is not at all how I feel on the inside. And if I'm going to really step forward and help people with their personal brands, because that was the intention of this idea, this tattoo was my reminder to myself to simply be myself. And so I stepped out with my agency at that right time, right place in 2017 with that story.
Yeah.
And it just hit. And I realized very quickly that the magic wasn't in my know-how of marketing and social media and great copy and visual branding, but it was in my truth and talking about my humanness
Yes.
out loud.
Yes.
And that was like the secret sauce that made people interested to listen to me because they could relate to me.
Yes.
You know, when I shared for the first time ever, I was on a panel at the very beginning. I got asked to be on a panel, and I shared for the first time publicly. It was a room of like 50 people,
Yeah.
but I shared the story of how I went broke. And when that panel was over, the line of people around the room waiting to come up to me to talk to me. No one was wanting to talk to the other panelists. Not that it was about a competition, but I was just like amazed at how many people came up to me to thank me for being that vulnerable because they had been through something similar. And I took that and I ran with that with my agency, and I scaled my agency so fast. I did not recognize or plan to hit 7 figures in revenue in less than 18 months, and then multi-7 figures in revenue, and grow my little one-woman consultancy to a 35-person full-time team in less than 5 years. I mean, it was a rocket ride. And while all of that was so exciting, and I really stepped into my leadership consciousness as a CEO, like I had to really learn how to run a multi-7-figure operation, I was still running away from scarcity.
Interesting. Yes.
Because that left a trauma response in my body.
Yeah.
Going broke. For real. Like looking at negative bank balances and having...
And it makes you kind of sick about money for a very long time.
It's a mind fuck, actually. And so there I was, 5.5 years into that journey. And I had launched my first book, B. I had doubled my business. I was on a book tour. I had launched a podcast. I was getting asked to speak all the time. I was on airplanes. 80, 100-hour work weeks, putting out fires every day with my agency. I was, running a team of a lot of millennials and Gen Z. Had a very, high attrition because we were growing so fast. My clients weren't necessarily happy because I was the face of the brand and I was, not there to babysit the business all the time. And so this is a very important point I want to make. I was living in Chicago, okay? Big city, where I'm from, density, intensity, that rat race culture. And my husband and I were like, let's maybe not live in Chicago for the winter. We were sick of the cold, and we decided to check out Nashville. Okay, we weren't living there full time, but we rented an Airbnb for that winter in 2022. I found this beautiful property on 10 acres of land in the middle of the farms of Nashville. Plopped down in January of 22. I'll never forget this winter. And it's important to note this, that the master bedroom was on the first floor. It was a first floor master. And it was my first time in my life, because I had grown up and lived in Chicago and lived in buildings like slept on the 37th floor with people below me, above me, just next to me in concrete blocks. And there I was sleeping on the earth for the first time in my life. Something interesting happened. I started to sob.
Wow.
Every day. I couldn't leave the house. I had no energy to shower or even eat. And I just thought to myself, I'm really tired.
Yeah.
Like, I just must be so fucking tired. And I was seeing a therapist. Shout out to Anne. Thank God for her. And I was seeing her weekly. And I would just come on my calls with her on Zoom. And I wouldn't even talk. I would just cry. I had nothing to say. And at the end of that month of January, she diagnosed me with situational depression.
Interesting.
And I had like shame around it because I'm an optimistic person. I've never struggled with mental health in my life. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, your body is breaking down because you are physically, mentally, and emotionally depleted.
Yeah.
There's the conversation on burnout everywhere, right? And there's, I believe, a spectrum of it.
Of course.
And I was on the deep, deep end of it. I mean, my body, my brain couldn't function because I had run my system into the ground. And it was that few months, that winter in Nashville, where I was away from the EMFs and the traffic and the sirens and the noise and the energy of millions of people, that I could really allow myself to unravel into my own darkness. I needed that.
Well, it finally became quiet enough so you could listen.
Correct.
You know, your very good friend Christy was here earlier today.
I know.
In a wonderful episode that I hope everybody will listen to, Christy Nault. And we were both saying, from very different ends of the coaching spectrum, that what essentially happens with all high achievers, is there's enormous amounts of anger.
Oh
and
my
that
God.
anger stockpiles more and more, particularly when you go broke, things don't go your way, the system of organization irks you. And instead of facing that anger, because what it really is grief,
Yes.
we just keep running it to the ground until one day it finally does come out as grief
Yes.
or situational depression.
Yes.
You are experiencing grief. It's so interesting because that's what I was thinking about when I read the first chapters of your incredible book, The Light Work. Tell me about Egypt.
So
Do we go to Egypt after
You-
we
yeah,
see that
well,
incredible property in Nashville?
fast forward about 8 months later.
Oh, 8 months later.
So what happened was I saw a holistic psychiatrist because my therapist told me I should go on medication.
Wow.
And instead I did ketamine, which was beautiful, actually. I did a 6-treatment ketamine therapy, IV, got my brain back. But I still had to work. And you mentioned anger. It's so profound what you just said. Because while my mental depression subsided, it transformed into rage. Rage against the machine called the life and the business and the golden cage that I had locked myself in.
Yeah.
This business, I couldn't burn it down. I wanted to. I really didn't want to. I loved my business, but I hated it.
Hey, we all build ourselves fancier cages.
It's
so
true.
That's how it is.
So by the time I stepped onto that plane in Egypt, that was January, I was diagnosed. Less than a year later, November, I stepped onto a plane to Cairo. I had a big international trip that I'd planned a year before. And I was, I'm a big world traveler. I love to go I've been to 35 countries. I was, it's a passion of mine. I remember getting on that plane at O'Hare and not giving a shit. I was like, just get me there. I felt like a bag of bones. I was like, I had literally come to a place in my life where I had even a touch of apathy towards it all.
Wow.
So I get to Egypt and I go on this 15-day spiritual pilgrimage, which I write about extensively in my book. And the only way that I can describe that trip is death.
Yes.
It was a complete ego death, an identity death.
Especially as you got so sick.
Oh my gosh, I got towards the tail end of the trip.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a vacation, Keren. Like going to
No.
Egypt, you're like getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning, going to these sacred sites, communing with these frequencies, and the shit that happens to you in Egypt, at least in my experience, sounds like you are on psychedelic mushrooms. Like there's no way those things could, you see things, you hear things happen to your body, but I was completely coherent and sober. And towards the tail end of the trip, I went into the Temple of Dendera, who's the temple of Hathor, who is the goddess of bliss, joy, pleasure, frequency, music, dance, sex. And I was in one of her little tiny chambers and I got struck by white lightning. Again, sounds like I was on drugs. I wasn't. This is my reality. This is my lived experience. And in that second, I felt my whole body dissolve. And I went into the cosmos.
Yeah.
And I started hearing voices. And they started speaking to me in such rapid succession. And I'll never forget the words they said. I left that temple. I went into my iPhone and I wrote everything down so I'd never forget it. I won't get into all the details because it's in the book, but the headline of their message was that I can still feel it, that I missed the plot of my whole life, which was to have fun, to actually enjoy my life. And what ended up happening in those first few hours after that hit of light, because what happened truly, there was all of this light that came into my physical system and my whole body started spinning because my human flesh, bones, skin, nails, blood couldn't hold all of that light, couldn't metabolize it. I got the flu, like within a matter of hours. I started shaking, freezing, cold, ice cold, teeth chattering. Wrapped myself in a bunch of blankets when I got back to my hotel. Couldn't get warm, couldn't stop shaking. Started moaning, started literally pouring like a monotonous sound of, I was lying in my bed like a sick person, shaking like that. And then I started speaking a language. I lost my English language and I started speaking a foreign galactic light language. And I channeled light language for 3 hours until my body came back to itself. And it was from those few days after until we left that I felt myself, my former self, literally dissolve. And it was wild, like the memories of like my childhood and the grief and the sadness of my trauma, and then the joy of like, I could feel so much love in my heart. And then I would see stray dogs on the street and I'd break down crying because I couldn't hold their pain. I'd lock myself in bathroom stalls just to break down so no one would see me. I was triggered by everything. I was so hypersensitive. And then I got back on that plane at Cairo and flew home. And it was in the year and a half, honestly, I feel like my life for the last 2 years almost since that trip has been the integration of that moment, of coming home to the truth that my job is joy, that this human experience is a gift, every single second of it.
Yeah.
And the universe reorganized. I ended up selling my business. I moved full-time to Nashville. I started my now company that's just me, coming out as a coach, a teacher, an educator. I channeled the light work in 3 months after that trip. It just all poured through me from a higher dimension. And I really think that, we're here to live our light, be the light, express our light, but not because that's easy. We find our light in the darkest of places. And so that has been, it was the biggest gift. I want to go back to Egypt multiple times and I plan on it, but it was the biggest life-altering experience of my life.
It's an incredible place. I'll go back, but if we go to Sinai and just hang out by the beach.
Yes, I want to go back with you.
I love it there. I just love it there. And
it's magical.
Yes, it is. And then I'll take you to Jerusalem. And
I've been.
Yeah.
I love it there,
that
too.
place is also kind of all kinds of unusual, isn't it?
Is it so unusual? It's a melting pot.
I love that you use the word light, obviously because of my obsession with Kabbalah, but you download the light work in 3 months. How does the methodology and the basis for the new platform emerge? How do you start to translate everything that went down into a system that you can now give to other people?
Yeah, that's a great question.
It's a Virgo question.
I'm a Virgo rising.
Of course.
So there you go. So as much as I love the feminine, and we can talk about that, I'm actually here for the sacred union of both the masculine and the feminine within the planet, right? Let alone our bodies, and that's where it starts. And I've always been a framework girl. I've always loved to be. I can just translate things very concretely. And I knew I wanted, once I sold my agency, to really serve women. I know that I haven't walked this path alone. So many women have internalized the patriarchy to work at a pace inside of systems that were quite literally not designed for us, the opposite of how we thrive. Yes. But we've also got to learn how to play the game to a degree and understand how to grow business and be a leader and assert ourselves and think in linear form and be structural.
Yes.
And so I actually just decided when I came home from Egypt, I was still running my agency, to host a retreat for fun. I'm just like, I just want to be in the woods with women and talk about spirituality, branding, and business. And I charged a nice price tag for it. Mm-hmm. I sent it out to my email list. It sold out in a month.
Boom.
I was like, okay, maybe I'm onto something here.
I think you are.
So 17 women came. And at the end of that retreat, I was still running my agency. They all asked me, how do I work with you?
Yeah.
How do you become my coach? And so that was really the beginning of this like seedling of what I would do next.
I love it. It's so organic. Teacher after teacher has said, I got an idea, I ran with the idea, and then they started to invite me to do the work.
Correct.
Isn't that amazing?
It's just when it's a sign that you're in alignment.
It's definitely some commonality.
Yeah, it's when you're on purpose and you've clicked into your timeline, your new timeline. And so I followed that call, started working with these little, these coaching contracts as my side hustle while I was running the agency. Yeah. And then this buyer came knocking in this summer of 23 wanting to buy my agency, and I was ready to sell my business. Yeah. I had built it to an asset. It was running without me. And I sold the company and went full on into this new thing that I'm doing. And I love coaching. I love working one-to-one it's my favorite thing. But I saw very quickly it wasn't scalable. So I created a group program.
Yeah.
And I have this amazing school I've created. It's called the Feminine Frequency Business School,
Yes.
inspired by Hathor in the Temple of Dendera, who told me that the feminine frequency is returning to this
Yes.
planet. And I teach, business and branding and systems and leadership and operations and selling and marketing through this container of
Yeah.
Egyptian goddess wisdom and the chakra system, so that we never leave our bodies, to really understand our physical vessels as the channel in which we bring our work into the world and the bridge. And it's been hugely successful, and I'm grateful every day for it. I have the best women. It's really just such an affirmation that I'm not alone. Because I don't, Hathor told me in that temple, she said, the feminine frequency is rising. The feminine frequency is returning. And it's your job, Jessica, to be a leader of that. But this is very clearly what they instructed me to understand. You are only one woman. This is not you leading this. This is all women leading this. To really step forward into this current inflection point in humanity where the feminine and the masculine calibrate. And really for us to lead in our own way and to remember our own power. Because before the patriarchy, which was only the last 4,000 years, there was a matriarchy for hundreds of thousands of years, where women led civilization. Everything we see today, from agriculture to farming to architecture to the calendar to languages to textiles to the sacred arts, women birthed it. And it was erased. And it was written out. And it was oppressed and appropriated. And I believe that this time, women are coming back home to that truth within themselves. It's, speaks to this whole emergence of female entrepreneurship, women empowerment. It's not a trend. It's our birthright.
It's so interesting because when you speak mission. And I think that's probably why this endeavor is so successful. Is the mission is so concrete, so clear, and so of you. Can you speak a little bit about that integrity of intention and the authenticity and how that makes for a very solid business? Because there was literally no reason for the other business not to succeed.
Yeah.
But this is the critical difference, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
This is also why we sell out retreats, by the way, versus people who don't sell out retreats.
Correct.
I believe it.
I agree. It's a great question. And I write about this in my book. I have a whole chapter on mission, actually. And I believe that, this idea of purpose, which is so overused, and it's a beautiful word, and I think it's an important thing for people to find and reach within themselves, but I think it's limited. I think it's very 3D. It's like, what am I here to do in this life for my own personal sort of fulfillment? Mission is really what you're here to do for the world. Like how you were designed with your own unique gifts to leave this world better than you found it. And when you can really click into that and come from that place, I believe people feel that. People feel the difference. That you're really not there to be of service to them, to themselves or even to the people listening to you, but to consciousness.
To consciousness,
To consciousness. And I think that is more than a strategy that has to come from your soul.
You allowed me to actually finally crystallize in my mind an idea. I've been on more than 50 podcasts for the book tour.
Yeah.
Jesus
I'm
freaking
sure
Christ.
exhausted.
For somebody who doesn't really like to leave the house, it's a lot. And I say that with love and respect for all. But I have noticed that there's a very big difference between teachers who really want to break things down for their audience versus people who are speaking to general consciousness. Like Byron Katie.
Yes.
It's almost like I wasn't even there.
Yes.
It was magnificent.
Yes.
It was truly amazing. And to that point, what is authenticity and how can people start to connect to it within themselves? Because I think that's a very vague term that people stumble upon many times. My friends, for example, to be magnetic, always find your authenticity. And people are like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah. I have a lot to say about this. My first book was all about this, right? My agency was all about this. I still am all about this. Authenticity is a very overused word.
It is.
And it is confusing.
But it's still a really good word.
It's an amazing word. It's essential. When you can crack it and you embody it, it's the best thing in life. It's what we came here to be. I think that there's two things I want to say about this. The first is just in the terms of how we show up, right, and be seen authentic in the world, on social media, in our work. There's a spectrum of realness that people, I think, feel like they have to either overdo, meaning my whole life is on display. I want to be real. I want to be transparent. I want to be vulnerable. And there's a fine line of, I think, oversharing.
Oversharing, yes.
Yeah, the truth is you don't owe the world your life in a glass case.
Exactly.
That's you should be discretional and private to a degree. And if you choose to be, that doesn't make you any less authentic. And this is what my whole personal branding methodology speaks to, is really selecting the aspects of your life, your world, your beliefs, your success, your failures that you want people to see. And the rest is for you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Now, the second thing I want to say about authenticity is a frequency. Like, I believe we come into this planet, this earth school, to experience polarity, love and fear. That's it. That's the game. And that's what we often learn our biggest lessons through that polarity, because fear manifests itself as scarcity and competition and jealousy and comparison and survival.
Yes.
And love manifests itself in a multitude of ways: compassion, empathy, community, abundance, oneness, peace, harmony. And to me, frequency of authenticity is a place of love. It's coming from love. It's coming from your heart.
Yes. And that's exactly what it means to me.
Yes. That's
I think
really
that
it.
the more generous and relaxed the person is, the more they are in their authenticity.
Right, because you're settled within yourself.
That's who you really are.
It's who you really are.
Yeah.
And so that reference to Byron Katie, like her energy, the authenticity, the consciousness from which she speaks from and to and for, is at the end of the day love. That's the whole game.
That's exactly right. I always say, you want to see who I am, bring a kitten into the room.
For me, it's a puppy.
You bring a kitten into the room, Keren turns into a big pile of goop.
Correct.
That's exactly what we are.
It's what we came here for.
It's a beautiful thing. It actually helps me to unlock another word that you like, and it's hustle.
Yes.
We are reclaiming the word hustle with your podcast.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And you are reclaiming hustle with the new business. It's still sizable, it's still exciting, it's still got multiple platforms, and yet it is not the hustle that came before.
No.
Help us reclaim this work.
So I want to just start, and I say this on my show, it's a beautiful thing to love to work and make money.
I enjoy it very much.
I love it. It gives me so much life.
Guilty.
Me too, super guilty. And this goes back to kind of what I was saying earlier. I love men. I gotta just first say, like, I celebrate the masculine so much.
Of course, we're both married to men.
Beautiful men. Shout out to my king.
Brian and Ryan.
Exactly, they rhyme, and they it's a divine aspect to our lives, the masculine, but we've overvalued it.
Yeah.
At a collective level.
Yes, it's out of balance.
It's out of balance.
And I want all of the listeners to hear, because as you know, a lot of them are men. This is never about the overcoming of or the overtaking of. This is truly just about a calibration.
Correct.
That's all.
Sacred union.
Yeah.
And we have grown up in a patriarchal system, women specifically, that's showing us consciously and unconsciously every single second of the day that that's how it should work. We should work in this 24/7 circadian rhythm, straight lines, Q1 to Q4. Our P&L system should always look like this, when really we work in cycles and rhythms. That's like the moon, the 28 to 30-day lunar calendar, where we have that wired into our sacred technology called our womb space.
That's right. Kate Northrup talks about that in her last book. What was it called?
Plenty? No, that's her podcast.
No,
Do less.
Do less.
Yes.
Exactly.
Do less.
Yes. I remember thinking, I've never thought about it that way.
Yes.
You're right. There's a
huge
time
unlock.
to reap and there's a time to sow, and you got to chill.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so what I teach in my podcast and all of the work that I do is never diminishing the love and the power of hustling, but to be embodied in our hustle.
That's right.
To really understand our own unique rhythms, to unhook from the belief that it has to look like this. This is a lie.
It is a lie.
And to hustle from a place of love, like what do you or for humanity, versus your own personal thriving and from fear and survival, which has been hardwired into our DNA from our ancestors and our grandparents and their parents' who were in fact living on the streets at one point and being chased by tigers. Those are things that are subconsciously wired into our DNA. And we get to rewrite that in this generation. I believe that this is such an important time to be alive, to really circuit break that carbon copy reprint into the next generation based on the work that we do. And so the spiritual hustle is coming from a new understanding of that, all of that.
It's an integrated hustle. I'm so happy that you said that. It's such an important thing to say to anyone listening who is not only a teacher, but who's running a business and who is in the throes of success, which can be very delicious, but unfortunately also very malicious. I wrote Gilded just to show that success can look that way. And so many people have misinterpreted that as Keren is against success.
No.
I'm actually not arguing against success. And in the sequel, Gold, you'll see that I'm arguing for success, but new kind of success,
Correct.
a new earth. Just as you came out of Egypt and into a new alignment, so did I. I came from overwork and just what can only be described as madness
Yes.
to it's okay to be exactly the way I am and work according to the right rhythm and living with the workaholic parts and with the restaholic parts.
Yeah.
Integration is the secret.
How would you define success today in one word?
Waking up eager for every day.
Amazing.
It's not one word.
I like
but
it though.
that's
That works.
basically it.
Yeah.
It's when you're really eager for your life, that's it.
That's beautiful. For me, success is peace.
Yeah.
It used to be so many other things. And today I wake up and I say to myself, I get to do this.
Yeah, that's
Similar
right.
to your commentary. I feel that if I have space in my day,
Yeah.
I can be present to the moment. My values are in check. My body is rested.
Yeah.
I'm having fun. That's success to me.
That's it. Yeah.
It's a totally
And
different
as long
vibration.
as you have that, you're good.
You can have anything.
But you do. I mean, we do also still understand, and that's why I always tell people, you're not ever like 100% over it. You still remember what it's like to be broke. Broke is very uncomfortable, and so it's also a great joy to be able to integrate and accept the ups and downs in a completely different way.
Absolutely.
I have to harken back to one specific episode of your podcast,
Which
and
one?
it was with our friend Curtis Lee Thomas.
I love him.
Which was the weirdest of all podcasts. And I loved it. I got
my
to
kind
ask.
of podcast.
I know. I got to ask him the question too. You both agree that the world is accelerating and something enormous is coming. You've already sort of hinted at this. What is this moment you think we are either in or entering, and what do we all need to do?
Wow, what a big question. I mean, he is magical and has gifts that, not in a comparative sense that I don't have. And he, sees visions and timelines. It's when he said that on my podcast that this change, this massive shift in humanity is coming in the next year and a half. I just felt in my body. That was an affirmation
Yeah.
of what I've known to be true for a while. I think that if you look around, you don't have to look far, people are more conscious and awake than we've given humanity credit for. I think that there is a reason why, spirituality, the conversation on consciousness,
Yeah.
personal growth, therapy, plant medicine, extraterrestrials is more
Taking off, yeah.
mainstream than it's ever been, right? And I, again, think it's such an exciting time to be alive. I don't really, I don't have biological I have fur children. Those are my children, but I have nieces, nephews. Like, I think about the future a lot. And that generation that's going to inherit the world that we're in. And I feel deeply responsible for that. And I really think that it's a coming home to love, like I was saying. But I also think it's an even deeper unplugging from what I call the matrix, which is at this stage in our evolution in the form of, the media, mass media, corporate capitalism, big food, big pharma, your social media, big government that has truly gotten off on not just power and wealth and status. Actually, it's about control, keeping humanity sick and afraid and operating like sheep. Just my thought. And we are now all kind of like looking around as we unplug, is what I see in my mind, whether we'd call it that or not, and remembering our own sovereignty and remembering our own freedom and agency. And that our birthright is actually to be healthy and to be happy and to be prosperous. And that, I think, is happening at a mass scale more than ever. I believe most people are good people.
Yes.
Most people come from a deep desire to have a fulfilling, loving life. And yet we're surrounded in this static of fear.
Terror.
Based on all of the things that we're consuming. And I think in these next 18 months, I mean, Curtis spoke to this on my show, but there's going to be a very obvious reflection of that truth in a way that I think is going to be very disruptive and dysregulating to the people who are not necessarily on that timeline or path, which will be a good thing ultimately, but might feel really destructive, which I think that's the I mean, wherever there is death, there is rebirth. That's the cycle of life. And so I think that is coming. And I think that people like you and me in our own unique ways, and probably a lot of the people who listen to your show, have been bracing for this. This is what Curtis called on my podcast, the Super Bowl, our Super Bowl.
I know.
We're like, we've been like front row eating the popcorn, like watching the time clock, like when is this all going to go down? And I think that it's incredibly exciting. And so to be a person who's done their work, who's done their healing, by the way, there's no destination there. We're always on that evolutionary path, are the ones that are going to be able to lead and to shepherd and to hold and steward this new shift in humanity. And I think it's incredibly exciting. I think we're really remembering who we came here to be. I don't think it's an awakening. I think it's a remembrance.
That word has come up so many times.
It's my favorite word.
I just love that word. I love that word, and I want to take a sharp turn. But I want to say that again is the mission, is to hold the space, to help others, to be the light.
Correct.
That's the whole point of having any.
Correct.
Speaking of light, Brian.
Let's talk about my husband.
Something else that's come up several times in this conversations with teachers, and in private conversations with teachers too, is how fundamental, how non-negotiable, how essential it is to have not just a partner, but a true partner.
Yeah.
Is that Brian?
Yeah. I'm like crying just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I want to just add actually on this note of being a teacher. I think in order to be a really strong teacher, you have to remain a student first.
Of course.
And
that's come up many times too.
That's just essential.
Yeah.
And I have been such a student to marriage, to long-term commitment. I believe that a relationship, a true partnership, is the greatest container for growth.
You know, your coach, Annie, is coming here later, and she has said many times that anyone who doesn't experience this has not experienced full growth. And when I say that, that's super controversial, but it is so true. Nothing will teach you more about who you are, what you truly are, than a real partner.
I could not agree more. 100 million %.
You can't do your work here without them.
You can't. You know, and I feel like I'm sometimes cautionary to say that too, because it's controversial. But my husband and I have been on a journey. We've been together 13 years.
Wow.
Married for 10 and a half.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. We were, handed a shit sandwich in the first year of our marriage. He lost his career in the first month after our wedding. My business dissolved. I had to take this corporate job, as I mentioned. I became the breadwinner all of a sudden, and our identities, our expectations literally reversed. We had to go through a lot of therapy. We found Annie, our coach. But I think that he is, when people ask me, like, what is the thing in my life I'm the most proud of? I say my marriage.
I agree.
Because it's the hardest thing I've ever done.
I also think it's the only true reflection of how far I've come.
Correct.
I always say, if you want to see how evolved I am, you should meet Ryan.
Correct. That's right. And I have to give my husband a lot of credit. You know, I used to call him as a joke, a muggle. You know, the Harry Potter books. I'd always say, like, I'm a Gryffindor witch, and I had to marry a muggle to keep me grounded.
We all have to marry muggles.
But I actually was talking to a friend of mine.
That's a delightful analogy.
I used it for years.
Christy's going to love that.
Until about 6 months ago. I actually was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like, oh, yeah, Brian's a muggle, to just say it constantly. It's like part of my vernacular. And she looked at me and she said, Jessica, you need to stop calling him that. Because it keeps him in a box.
Ah.
He's not a muggle. He's actually quantum leaped. He hitched a ride on your goddess train, and he has expanded and grown and chosen to continue to change, not for you, but for himself. And my husband is a king. He's my partner in this wild adventure called this reality. And I love him more today, not to sound cheesy. I'm more attracted to him today. I'm more grateful for him today. I choose him harder today than I ever have. But we've been through the ringer. And I don't think that I would be the woman that I know I wouldn't be. I don't think that I have this tattoo actually. It's right about this in my book. So before I met Brian, I was all about unconsciously codependent relationships. Like we got to lose each other within each other to be in love, to be in a relationship. And then I met Brian, and he loves golf. which means I'm a golf widow every single weekend of my marriage. He's gone Saturday, Sunday, all day long. And in the very beginning of our relationship, I hated it. I like resented golf. It was like my mistress. I was like, fuck you, golf. It was a big fight all the time. Now I love golf because it's maintained my own autonomy. And I have this tattoo on my rib cage that says 1 + 1 = 11.
Yes. Oh, my parents say that all the time.
Yeah. Do they?
My parents say 1 + 1 is not
A
2,
two.
Karen. It's 11.
It's 11. And it's a metaphor.
That's a perfect marriage.
You don't shape shift and
Never.
bend to change
Yes.
and mold yourself into a different structure than you were before
Yeah.
you met the person. You stand side by side, equal, stronger, more cosmic. The number 11 is greater in mathematical terms than the number 2 anyway.
Yeah.
So Brian is my 11.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
is.
he's amazing.
I can't wait to meet him.
I can't wait for you to meet him. I can't wait to meet Ryan.
Oh man,
Got double date.
Everybody's gonna love Ryan, and I never say muggle in a derogatory way. He's
I
just
didn't mean
a
it in a-
beautiful soul who
Exactly.
definitely came here more illuminated than I.
Yeah, wow.
I think it cannot be stressed enough that this is hard, that building a business is hard, and being a teacher is hard, and that being with someone who also sustains you and allows you that enormous autonomy, because with due respect, you need more time off than golf requires,
Yes.
that it's so essential for anyone out there who's building anything similar to understand. And speaking of which, your platform is now multi-headed. You have a lot going on.
I do.
What are you most lit up about?
I would say that my school, my Feminine Frequency Business School,
Yeah.
it's a 12-week group coaching and certification program.
So exciting.
These women come in, one version of themselves, and transform in front of my eyes. I mean, we have an insane retention rate.
Yeah.
It's a certification program,
Yeah.
so you have to like take assessments.
I've been following on Instagram, just amazing.
It's unbelievable, and 99.9% of them complete their assessments every single week. They get certified. They show up to every single call. I have a membership that comes out of it. I have 95% of the
On the
women.
other side.
Yes.
So you're absorbed in a membership to continue.
Teaching, coaching
I
with
love
me.
it.
Yeah, it's all year long. And I love my sisters in there. We have really formed a true community. I had somebody come up on Zoom the other day and tell me that this program wasn't just a program, it was a rite of passage.
Yes.
You know, like it's just, it's so from my
It needs
heart.
to be on the homepage.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
one of the most powerful things anyone's ever reflected back to me. So I love that container. I also host retreats.
Yeah.
Still, I have this beautiful retreat called Claim Your Light. That's how I got to know Christine Alt really well. She came to it. I do it once a year. Next year is in Sedona. I do them in all these spiritual
Magical,
vortexes,
yes.
exactly. And I love being in person. Nothing can beat it.
Nothing is like it.
Nothing. Like to come into this 5-day
Yeah.
where time bends and you just form this sisterhood for real for the rest of your life that no one can ever understand than the women that were there. And then out of my retreat, I host a mastermind, and I have a 7-woman mastermind called the 7 Sisters, inspired by the 7 sons of Pleiadians, my
I love
extraterrestrial
it.
star
And
family.
7 is a magical number.
7 is a magical number. And I'm taking them to Avalon, Karen. I'm going to Glastonbury, UK.
It's insane. Yes, I saw those stories. That's insane. I
I'm
was
going
like,
in July.
why
Yeah.
are you there?
Because it's where the home
Magnificent.
of the goddess.
Wow.
Yeah, the Mist of Avalon, to
It's gonna be
really
amazing.
touch the feminine of our planet. It's the heart chakra of the world.
I love how brave you are
Thank you.
and how expansive you are. And I also love that you gave me this idea, because speaking of in person, you know, we met in Nashville and we met in person. And just sitting together in the same space is so unbelievably different from meeting virtually. Even though meeting virtually is very powerful too. There's just nothing
can't
like
compare it.
this.
No.
There's
I
nothing
remember
like the exchange of energy.
No, and it's like the depth that you can go so quickly. I remember walking into Veronica Beard, because your event was the night before my show, and I walked in and I saw you, Karen, and I was like, I've seen her before. I know you. I've seen your soul, and it was such a solidification
Yeah.
of a sisterhood, and I was so honored that you called me down to Austin for yours, and I agree with you. I think we've always been designed to be in community and tribe,
Yeah.
to have that sense of belonging. It is a deep human essential yearning. And then, in the last few years, we got ripped away the ability to do that.
Exactly.
And I think people are hungrier than
This
ever.
is what we have to do.
Yeah.
This is the mission, is to reconnect and reclaim
Yes.
the light.
The light.
Where can people learn more about you? What do you think they should check out first? All of it's going to be, of course, captured in the show notes.
I spend most of my time, well, you can come to my website, jessicazweig.com. It has information on my school, my retreats, everything I do. My book, The Light Work, you can buy it anywhere. My podcast, The Spiritual Hustler. And I love the gram. I'm on Instagram a lot. I love that platform. I really do. I've had a complicated relationship with it.
It's full of cat videos. You know how much I like.
Boston Terrier videos are my entire Explore page.
Everywhere. Exactly.
But I love my community there.
Yeah.
I really feel them.
Yeah.
I don't look at them as followers. It's such a gross word to me.
It's a gross word.
It's really about
you're our friends,
human beings on the other side of their little phones too, and we get to connect there, and I DM and I leave voice notes and I try to respond to comments and cultivate community and share things I hope that are valuable.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
And so come find me there.
I will link all of this below. I want to thank you, Jessica, for coming all the way down to Austin.
That was my
so
pleasure.
Much. And I want to thank you for your honesty, for your fire, for your authenticity, and above all things, for your generosity.
Oh.
You are a special, special person. And you are proof that we can rewrite our story anytime, from any point, and do it with heart and with a whole lot of enthusiasm. To dear listeners out there who enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review. And let us know how you felt about today's episode, anywhere you can, including the gram. Thank you so much for listening. May your life be blessed with these. We'll see you next time.